Ah, Sweden. You're a country that's filled to the brim with all sorts of wonderful and interesting traditions and habits that the rest of the world has never heard of before. So in this video, we're going to be sparing a thought for the foreigner who has just arrived. They're just hopping off their plane and they've got a whole world of wonder and mystery to explore and discover. Yes, that's right, because there's plenty of things that I never knew existed, I'd never come across in my life before until I moved to Sweden. And today I've picked 5 of the ones that really shape how I live my life here in Sweden to share with you guys. So whether you're brand spanking new to Sweden or you've been using ICA to do your shopping for 7 months now, allow me to share with you some of the things that I didn't know existed before I moved to Sweden. Number 1, and the only real place I could start this list, is Filmjölk. And if you're sat watching at home and you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry, you're not the only one. I was in the same situation as you only 2.5 years ago. Actually, come to think about it, the crazy thing is I've been here 2.5 years now and I'm still kind of struggling to work out how the hell I put this concept into words to explain to you guys. But we'll give it a go. I tell you what, when I first arrived here in Sweden, I was almost convinced that Filmjölk was this weird trick that they play on us foreigners by putting this carton that looks just like it's normal milk next to the milk products in your local stores, and you pick it up, get it home and realise you bought the total wrong thing. But fast forward 2.5 years and I've come to learn that even the regular Swede uses Filmjölk as part of their regular routine in place of yoghurt. But what is it though, you're asking? Well, the only way I can describe this is that Filmjölk is basically cow milk that's gone old. It's cow milk that's been fermented with bacteria. Sounds tasty, right? And this is one of those born and bred Swedish products that has now spread a little bit across Scandinavia, but apart from that, it's kind of local to here. And I guess that's why I, for one, had never heard of Filmjölk before I moved here to Sweden. And today, I'm going to put you out of your misery and I'm going to save you from the mistake that every foreigner makes. So listen up. Yes, because quite often in your local supermarket, you will find the Filmjölk products right next to the normal milk. So make sure you know what you're picking up before you pick up your product. Yes, because when I first moved to Sweden, I lived on my own, so I was used to doing my groceries on my own once a week, as you do. No problem so far. But when the Filmjölk is placed right next to the normal milk, it's easy to pick up a Filmjölk thinking that you've got a normal milk, and you don't really realise until you get home. Yes, because as a Brit, I'm quite partial to a bit of milk in my coffee, so you can imagine my shock and horror when I got home that evening with my milk, I poured it into my mug, and it wasn't what I was expecting. And to make matters worse, I'm one of those weird people who likes to warm up my milk before I take my coffee. And the Swedes out there are already cringing because they know what happened next. I chucked my Filmjölk in my mug into the microwave, put it on for 30 seconds, and when I got it back out again, it literally smelled like I'd opened a coffin. So let's just say that that coffee ended up down the sink because there was no way I was touching that lumpy, disgusting mess. And sticking with the theme of food and drink, number 2 on my list of things that I never knew existed until I came here to Sweden is caviar in tubes. Yeah, come to think about it, for most of us in the rest of the world, caviar is this strange and foreign substance. We know it's expensive, we know it exists in posh restaurants, but apart from that, it doesn't really impact our lives that much. It's not something you have on the daily. So cue another almost dangerous mistake. When I came to visit my girlfriend and her family for the first time, I reached into the fridge, took out what I thought was some mayonnaise, and nearly poured it all over my bread. So here comes another little advisory warning for you guys, my friends of the interwebs. When you reach into the fridge and you find a blue tube that says Kallis Caviar on it, is exactly what it says on the tin. You probably don't want it on your breakfast. But that's just the thing, because here in Sweden, caviar is a condiment that you have with your breakfast. And that is something that I never knew existed before I came to Sweden. And I tell you guys what, the first couple of times that I saw people reach for the caviar to put on their breakfast, I genuinely thought they'd made some sort of honest mistake. And I could understand it because here in Sweden, I've talked about this before, there are so many different types of food that get packaged up into tubes. So it's not weird that they maybe reached for the wrong thing. But then I came to realise it wasn't some sort of crucial mistake, they actually meant to reach for this substance. But sticking with the theme of the supermarket, the third thing that I didn't know existed until I moved here to Sweden was Pant. And for those of you that are maybe less familiar with the concept of Pant, let me tell you what, this is your new way to make quick money here in Sweden. Okay, let me just take that statement back because I feel like I've set your expectations a little bit too high. Yes, here in Sweden they have this concept called Pant, which allows you to take back your used drinks bottles and cans and get some money back for them. And just to be clear, when I say that this is something I hadn't heard of before, it doesn't mean that I don't think it's a good idea now that I have. Yes, the closest I got to the concept of Pant before is that when I was a kid and I used to travel to France, France with my family, they have this concept there where basically once you've had a drink in a glass bottle, you can return it to the bar that you bought it from and they will give you some money back. And as a kid, I thought this was an amazing idea. I used to go around collecting all of the bottles on all of the tables just to get some new pocket money. And then this was a concept that disappeared from my life until I moved here to Sweden and I heard about Pant. And I think it's a great idea because literally in all of the supermarkets here, you can go back, return your items and get coupons towards your next purchase. Or you can donate it to charity if you like. The fourth thing that makes my list today of things that I never knew existed before I moved to Sweden is Yanderelogen. And this really could not make my list today because I've seen your comments and I know that Yanderelogen is something that you guys want me to talk about. So let's dig into it. No matter whether your threshold of knowledge about Sweden is sky high or rock bottom, one thing that you've probably heard about Sweden is that the people here are quite reserved. And I think that Yanderelogen is one of the reasons for that. Yes, because Yanderelogen is where we get the concept that showing off is a bad thing from here in Sweden. Because it basically says that nobody is any better than anybody else. We're all equal, we all deserve the same space. And by space, I'm not talking about living space. No, this is not some sort of socialist concept. What I'm talking about is that we all deserve the same room to breathe and thrive in our life. It's the idea that everybody is as equal as the next person and nobody should think they're better than anybody else. And don't get me wrong, of course I'd heard of the concept of treating others the way that you wish to be treated before. That's something you see in all sorts of other contexts, including religious ones. But this takes everything to the next level, because here in Sweden they have this unwritten law. It's literally something that people use to govern and live their lives by, that says that no one else is better than them. You should treat other people the way you wish to be treated, but also realise that showing off is not something that should be admired. But being honest with you, depending on who you ask here in Sweden, this is a more or less important concept in modern day society. Some people think it's super important and we need to live by it even today. Others think that maybe we're moving away from that, but I'll leave the Swedes in the comments below to give you more information about that. But the reason that it makes my list here today of things I never knew existed before I came to Sweden is because it's important when you go to things like job interviews. Because where I'm from, at least, it's super important that when you get invited to a job interview, you use it as a sales pitch. You're there to sell yourself, tell them why you deserve the job. Whereas when you come to Sweden, it works a little bit differently. Sure, they want to know how you're qualified for the job. Of course, that's important. But the difference is they don't want you to come across as overqualified, because then it feels like you're trying to show off. So I guess what I'm trying to say is think about how you present yourself when you go to a job interview here in Sweden, because it could be the make or break. It's also one of the reasons why at the last stage of the interview process, you'll probably get invited to meet the team, because it's important that everybody feels like they're involved in the decision and gets to choose who the new colleague is. They want everybody to be comfortable with the choice. And that brings me nicely on to the fifth and final thing that I never knew existed until I came here to Sweden. And of course, the only place I could end this list today is Alemandet. Yes, if you came to any Swedish town or city and you just asked a Swede on the street what is the key to why they're so close to nature, I almost guarantee that they will say Alemandet. Because Alemandet is a law that's written into the Swedish constitution that allows people to get out and enjoy the nature around them. It specifies that people are welcome to go out and about and enjoy the nature around them as long as they put it back into the condition that they found it when they leave. And of course there are some exceptions. Things like private roads are private. You're not supposed to go down them, you're not supposed to use them. But for the most part, the nature around you is yours to enjoy as long as you treat it the way that you should. And the great thing about Alemandet is it actually helps to regulate the use of the nature. So there's actually some rules in place as part of the law that says that, for example, if you want to go and camp, you can do that, but you have to do it for only a handful of nights so that then the next person can come along and enjoy it. Not a bad idea, right? Let's encourage people to get out and about and enjoy the natural world. And that brings us nicely to the end of today's video and this list of things that I never knew existed until I came here to Sweden. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope you've learned something new. If you think I missed something or there's something else that you never knew existed till you came to Sweden, you have to let me know in the comments down below. And then if you haven't subscribed yet, it would be awesome if you could. Regular videos coming out twice a week, so make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're the first to know when there's a new video to watch, and then like the video if you haven't done so already. I really appreciate that. That support means the world. But that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching again, and I will see you in a new one very, very soon. Until then, goodbye guys.